Alright, so I'm sure we all know that Daniel Suarez is on the way out from Trackhouse Racing at the end of the season after both of them mutually agreed to part ways. I can understand why both of them are going their ways respectfully, which is completely fair. On the other hand, I've just seen a lot of criticism about Daniel Suarez on the internet since he made his jump up to the Cup Series and to this point now to where I am recording this, and I figured it's time to look into how he ended up where he is now. And the big question I have for everyone is, did Daniel Suarez ever reach his full potential? Here's my thoughts and opinions on it all. To kick off this video, we are going to go all the way back to the year 2016, and I'm going to show off a timeline of events. At the time, Daniel Suarez was in his second full-time season in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs Racing, driving the 19 car. Ultimately, he ends up winning the championship and becoming the first international driver to win a title in NASCAR's top three divisions. The day after was the NASCAR Cup Series Championship, which was battled between Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, and Joey Logano. This would be a race that Carl Edwards dominated, but it saw questionable late race yellow, which resulted in a restart with 10 to go. We ended up seeing Carl Edwards attempt to block Joey Logano, but it ended up resulting in him finding the inside wall and coming back up the track, resulting in a 9-car incident. Jimmy Johnson would make it unscathed to win his 7th and final championship, and that ultimately be the last time we see Carl Edwards, as he announced his sudden retirement before the 2017 NASCAR Cup Series season. It was decided that Daniel Suarez would step into the 19 car as his replacement instead of continuing to race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series to defend his title. He'd make his debut in the Daytona 500, finishing 29th after being caught up in a wreck with 59 to go. He ended up having a best career finish of 3rd at Watkins Glen, but did not make the playoffs. He'd also be beat out by former teammate Eric Jones for Rookie of the Year by 86 points and finished 20th. In his second season, Suarez had a slight drop-off from last season, despite finishing a career best 2nd at Pocono, and failed to make the playoffs again, finishing 21st in points. Furniture Row Racing announced they would be shutting their doors at the end of the season and sold their charter to what is now known as Spire Motorsports. This would mean the 2017 champion Martin Truex Jr. would be without a ride, and he ends up signing a deal to head to Joe Gibbs Racing, bringing Bass Pro Shops, which saw Daniel Suarez's 4 years with Joe Gibbs Racing come to an end. With Kurt Busch going to Chip Ganassi Racing in the 1 car, Daniel Suarez would move to Stewart-Haas Racing and drive the 41 car, bringing sponsor Aries with him notably. This would end up being the best Cup Series season of his career, with 4 top 5s and a season best 3rd at Texas both times in the season, but he did not make the playoffs again, finishing 17th in the standings. He ended up finding himself out of a ride once again as Cole Custer was promoted from the NASCAR Xfinity Series after back-to-back seasons of making the championship 4 and winning the Xfinity Series championship the 2 seasons before then. There were competitive options available in the Xfinity Series, but Suarez did not want to move down and decided to go to Gaunt Brothers Racing in the 96 car and would be a Toyota driver once again. However, they did not have a charter, and in result, he ended up missing out on the Daytona 500. This would be the worst season of Suarez's career, as he was not in top tier equipment, and his best finish was 18th at Bristol in Kansas. He'd finish 31st in the point standings, and he'd be on the move again. The good news for Daniel Suarez is he ended up finding a home. He ends up joining newly established Trackhouse Racing, owned by Justin Marks, to race the 99 car, becoming their first ever driver. In 2021, they leased a charter from Spire Motorsports to be guaranteed into every race. He ends up finishing 36th for the team's debut after being caught up in a big incident early on. He didn't have the best season, finishing a season best 4th at Bristol covered in dirt, and finished 25th in points, missing the playoffs in his 5th straight season. 2022 began the next-gen era where Trackhouse Racing expanded to 2 cars, adding Ross Chastain to drive the 1 car. They would achieve 3 wins on the season, and Suarez would finally win his first career race at Sonoma Raceway for the team's 3rd win of the year and 2nd on a road course. He'd be eliminated in the round of 12 after being wrecked by Christopher Bell at Charlotte and finishing 36th, ranking 10th overall. In 2023, the team continued winning but Suarez was not a part of it, and he ultimately ends up missing the playoffs again. Last season in 2024, after a 34th place finish at the Daytona 500, Suarez would end up winning at Atlanta in a photo finish between himself, Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Busch. He coasted his way into the playoffs, and he would find his way through the round of 16, but failed to make it out of the round of 12 once again, finishing 30th at Charlotte with brake issues. This season, he started on the right foot at Daytona with a 13th place finish, but he'd be caught up in wrecks 3 consecutive races before finishing second at Las Vegas. Since then, he's only finished in the top 10 twice, which were back-to-back races at Talladega and Texas. He failed to advance out of the round of 32 in the in-season challenge, as he got caught up in the big one in Atlanta, seeing Bubba Wallace escape by with a damaged car from an earlier wreck. Afterwards, it was announced him and Trackhouse Racing would be parting ways. And that's where we are today. I hope this has painted the picture extremely well so far, and it is also amazing that it was really just 4 years ago that Trackhouse Racing was established, and they have even bigger potential in the future now. Next up, we're going to look more in depth, and this is going to be at the statistics of Daniel Suarez, beginning with his 2016 NASCAR Xfinity Series season. Feel free to pause the video at any moment. With the 2016 NASCAR Xfinity Series season, something to keep in mind is we were still seeing Cup Series regulars come in and dominate races, minus the fact Suarez started off the season with 5 top 10s to start off the year. He continued to show that consistency and got his first career win at Michigan, and it only got better, and he was not winning, but he did earn 6 top 5s afterwards before the playoffs began. His results were fantastic, including a Dover win, and then he ends up winning the championship as well as the race. His worst finish of the playoffs was only 5th. He ended up running part-time in the series afterwards, but now we're going to move on to the Cup Series. For his rookie season in 2017 in the Cup Series, for an unexpected rookie and probably a lack of preparation, I thought he did quite good. He earned a total of 12 top 10s, including 4 straight, and he honestly just came shy of Rookie of the Year. In 2018, after starting to get the hang of things, he didn't do as well in my opinion. You only see 9 top 10s, and even though 3 of those would feature top 5s, this would ultimately be the end for him, though very quickly and not completely at fault of his own. In 2019, when he moves over to Stewart-Haas Racing, I felt he did much better. He started the season off well, but he ended up missing the playoffs as mentioned, minus his career best of 4 top 5 finishes in the season. He ended up losing his ride to a future rookie, and we all know how that has panned out now. In 2020, when he was at Gaunt Brothers Racing for just the 1 season, I feel the standards for the Cup Series back then of getting the best out of your car, he did exceptionally well with that. The finishes weren't great obviously, but he found 3 top 20s and had plenty of mid-pack runs, and he just missed out on being inside the top 30 in points, but maybe making the Daytona 500 would have been the difference maker. In 2021, when he moved over to Trackhouse Racing, I don't believe there were high expectations for Trackhouse Racing in the Cup Series then like now. He ended up doing better than the last season, but he only had 4 top 10 finishes. He ends up getting a 4th place finish at Bristol on the dirt, and then a 7th place finish at Nashville. 2022 is when the next gen came around, and this is where we saw this team step up a level. Suarez ends up finding that first career win at Sonoma, but he also get 12 top 10s, with 5 of those being top 5s. He'd be eliminated in the round of 12, and it looked like he could have gone to the round of 8 potentially. In 2023, Suarez started off the season right with 3 top 10s, but the results started going backwards quite quickly. We see a drop off in the finishes, weren't good enough to get him to the playoffs. He finished the year with 10 top 10s and 3 top 5s. For 2024, the win at Atlanta in the 2nd race of the year would help cover up his struggles, as it'd only be his only win of the year. He had only 5 top 10s before the playoffs, and he'd take advantage of misfortunes at Bristol to sneak into the round of 12, but that was all she wrote. This would be a year of only 9 top 10s and 4 top 5s, with half of those top 5s coming at Atlanta. And now we're going to look at 2025, and for this year, I feel bad for him as he did get caught up in trouble at the start of the year, and it seemed like they got some momentum after Las Vegas, but things started going backwards a few weeks later for this team, especially recently. He has 3 top 10s right now, and he is only on pace for 6. He is also 29th in points, meaning there is no realistic way he's making on points. The only way he'll have a chance to truly redeem himself is with a win, which looks very unlikely, and it will probably come down to Daytona to see if he can be a surprise winner. So that's the statistics, and now I'm going to share my honest opinions on what I believe. So first, I'm just going to share all of his situations. I do believe he was rushed to come up to Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup Series, but they did have no other realistic options, as it was in January when Edwards announced his retirement. They were looking to acquire Eric Jones, who was a part of their Xfinity Series team and was up against Suarez in the 2016 Championship 4. He, however, was already committed to driving the 77 for Furniture Row Motorsports, and then he ends up moving over to Joe Gibbs Racing and dropped the 20 the year after, replacing Matt Kenseth. Afterwards, Joe Gibbs Racing picks up a big driver in the name of Martin Truex Jr., and they do end up giving up on their project ultimately with Suarez. It is harsh, but they did get an upgrade out of Truex Jr. obviously. Suarez only got to drive the 19 for 2 seasons. The opportunity to go out to Stewart-Haas Racing was a big one for sure, where he probably felt less pressured. The next thing we know, he's out of the 41 car just after 1 season after being the only driver of the team to miss the playoffs. He ends up getting replaced by Cole Custer, coming off back-to-back championship 4s of finishing 2nd, and he also won the 2017 NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship. That also means we never got the chance to see if Suarez would have defended that championship against Custer if you think about it. He ends up having to settle for Gaunt Brothers Racing for a Cup Series ride, and I don't think that this was a bad idea. He's already won the Xfinity Series title, and there's always the potential once you go down, you don't come back up. He took that gamble, and then he found himself at Trackhouse Racing, where he is now. The ride that he is in now has allowed him to be more of himself, and I would say comfortable was a great word at the beginning, and it just felt as of the past 2 seasons, things were not going as well, and especially this season. I've been watching the vlogs this year from him. I can tell he's frustrated and how he feels that he's not getting respect, which he has publicly said now. The only true highlight of the season for him was when he had Mexico Series and the Xfinity Series, but that was it. And I think he knew that the pressure was on him for sure. And his relationships, whether it was with his crew chief or something else, just weren't working out compared to the beginning. He will now be out of a ride, obviously, at the end of the series, and he's looking for a big opportunity. The big question, as mentioned, did Daniel Suarez ever reach his full potential? My answer is no. And it all begins with throwing him in that seat in the Cup Series. While I don't blame that decision, it probably wasn't the right idea, and felt like the only option left in another year in the Xfinity Series would have been great for Suarez, or even more before finding a ride. But who else would have you selected? I also don't blame Joe Gibbs Racing for replacing him with Martin Truex Jr. after the news that came out that his team would be shutting down. Afterwards, he goes to Stewart-Haas Racing, gets replaced literally a year later. And yes, Costa ended up winning a race in his rookie season, but that's it. He ended up somewhat wasting a year in 2020 before settling in with Trackhouse Racing, but he was never able to shine before then. He's had his best moments now with this team, but he's never had a chance to truly reach up to the best of his potential. We've seen cameos for sure, but nothing sustained. The next thing is, what's next for Daniel Suarez? It appears there won't be a lot of movement in the Cup Series depending how this lawsuit goes between NASCAR 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, which is involving the charters. There's the other lawsuit to note between Legacy Motor Club and Rick Ware Racing involving charters. Other than that, a lot of drivers are locked in where they are as it stands. He has sponsors that are backing him up, which is true, so he definitely can try to get himself another Cup Series ride, which is what I am expecting right now. Whether it's a 10 car for Colleague Racing, depending how Ty Dillon finishes in the in-season challenge, and what ends up happening to what is ultimately a total of 8 charters in question going into next season. Maybe he ends up going to Legacy Motor Club, pending they acquire that charter they said they paid for. And an interesting coincidence that I just came up is Johnson ends up winning that 7th championship over Edwards, and Suarez ends up taking over that ride, and it feels things would kind of come full circle. Anyways, it may be much easier to go down to the Xfinity Series, and he did just run that race with Junior Motorsports, even though he probably does not want to drop down a level. But these are all thoughts, and we may be waiting for a while. The 99 car is the only ride guaranteed to be wide open if Connor Zilic ends up taking that car. A spot opens up at Junior Motorsports, obviously. Let me know in the comments, where do you think Daniel Suarez will end up for 2026, and what do you think of everything surrounding Suarez? Also, I just wanted to share what the current NASCAR in-season challenge bracket looks like after Sonoma going into Dover before I end this video. We have quite the matchups with 32nd seeded Ty Dillon up against 12th seeded John Hunter Nemechek and charterless Tyler Reddick against Ty Gibbs. Things will be very interesting with these intriguing matchups in the recent news. We'll see what it means to these 4 drivers this weekend, and then I'll be at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400 and the in-season challenge championship. That will conclude the video on the topic of Daniel Suarez. I hope you enjoyed this video, as it was fun to look into everything and paint the picture. Let me know if you want to see more of these videos in the future. That will be it. So with that being said, take care, y'all.